Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
That kid is back on the escalator again.
Ain't gonna hurt.
Here's my boomstick!
Game over, man. It's game over.
Welcome to the Bargain Bin. He is your host, Ben Mason.
He is your co-host, Sandra Luketic. And today we're talking 1999's Idle Hands. We assume if you're listening to this episode, you have already seen the movie. All right, man. I'm not going to go through the process of asking if you've seen this before, because I'm just going to assume that you haven't.
Of course I did. I don't know if your memory is a little fuzzy, but I technically picked this one.
I know, but you could have just been trying to screw me over.
That doesn't sound like me, dude.
Maybe not to the listeners.
Shh. I've been doing a good job hiding it so far.
When was the last time you saw this?
Well, that would have been probably when the movie just kind of came out on rental. Because I know there was a video place near the place I was living with my family when I was younger, and we used to always do like 3 movies because they had a deal.
Yeah.
And this was one of the long line of movies that we rented that I would watch, with my sisters and stuff like that. So it's been a long time. The reason that I kind of half picked it was based on my memories of it, similar to my pick for Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Okay, yeah, I totally understand that. I'm looking at my DVD copy right now, and it says, well, yeah, the movie was made in 99. The DVD was released in 2003. So, coming up on 20 years almost, I've had this. And I probably haven't really watched it more than once anytime since then. I was really nervous going into this because I thought it was going to be along the same lines as Buffy, like having fond memories and going back and just cringing the whole time.
This is one of those movies that kind of like in my mind happened around the same time as Buffy. Like clearly there was 7-8 years between the two, but
I think it feels like they're so far apart.
I'm talking about my memory of it. Like,
okay.
Obviously having rewatched them now, I don't see how I made that association. Yeah. But when we were just talking about the movies and planning to review them, in my mind I was like, oh yeah, these are 2 movies from the same era, they're very similar, they're cut from the same cloth, and that is not the case.
No, man. So
I don't know where my memory misled me there, but just looking at it, I'm glad I picked it because this is quite the cast here.
It is a really good cast. Looking at the DVD cover, it's immediate cringe. Just really poor Photoshop, and that's why I was really nervous to watch this one again. Even with a cast like that, you can have a great movie that has a bad movie that has a wicked cast, and just when the credits roll, you're left dumbfounded.
I mean, I'm not counting the 2 seconds, 3 seconds in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but has a movie that has Seth Green in it led us astray yet?
Airborne. Thanks, Mark.
We enjoyed that one.
I know. No,
shout out to Mark, though. Hope he's doing
definitely well. Seth Green is always done really well, in my opinion, for what we've covered anyway.
All right. Well, why don't we get into this one?
Sure, man. Let's hop right into these notes. The movie starts with a very dark, very bloody, and very 90s horror credit sequence with decent visuals and appropriately dark music. I kind of liked how it just jumped right in. You get the credits out of the way, and then you just have the movie. You don't have that stinger opener and then like a lengthy credit sequence, because the credits here are about a minute and a half long.
Yeah, it's only good to do them like after the initial scene if the initial scene is worthwhile. This is just let's get it out of the way, and then we can go into the story.
Which is really weird because the opening scene could be an opening stinger for this movie. I think it works better to have the credits first rather than after this. But I digress. Night, October 29th. The Tobias family, Fred Willard, who I always love to see on screen, and Connie Ray, are prepping for bed. They bicker about blowing out the candles and the pumpkin decorations downstairs before turning out the lights. Darkness floods the room, revealing the words, "I'm under the bed," scrawled in glow-in-the-dark ink. They scream and hit the lights. Norma convinces Gary to look under the bed, and he finds nothing, and he just blames their son Tobias or Anton. Blames their son Tobias. My parents always referred to me by my surname, FYI.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. No, they blame their son Anton for pulling a lame prank. There's a noise downstairs again, and Gary goes to investigate.
So are we to believe that the writing was Anton? Spoilers?
Yes.
Okay.
And I believe that is because they hear the sound in the attic, which is where he lives. And then the sound downstairs later when Gary goes down to investigate. What did I say her name was? Norma. It's weird. They never actually use the character's name in the movie.
Dude, even on IMDb, it says Dad Tobias and Mom Tobias.
Yeah, no, she does call him Gary in the movie, and I had to look up that her name in the script is actually Norma. But when Norma runs back upstairs, she pulls open the attic ladder thing to yell to Anton, and there's silence, showing that he was actually downstairs at that point.
They do try to trick you with it, but yeah.
Yeah, they do. Let's see. While Gary's gone, Norma hears the noise in the attic and decides to do some knitting to calm down. Then we get a jump scare of the cat, because you need a cat scare in these movies.
Why do they always have to be cats?
I don't know. And why do they always have to jump out of places you would never expect? I would never expect a cat to fly out of a closet at me. Just like I would never expect a cat to fly. It doesn't jump on the bed. It comes down onto the bed from some height and scares her. More noises downstairs. Norma goes to look for Gary. She stops to check on her son, who lives in the attic, but there's no response. Downstairs, Norma finds that Gary did not blow out the candles, and after she does so, she turns and falls in a pool of blood. She runs upstairs, screaming, warning her son and running to the bedroom to call 911. Before she can finish dialing, the phone is yanked to the floor. When she bends down to pick it up, an arm shoots out from underneath the bed, grabbing her wrist and pulling her under. The bed jumps, and a wicked cool blood splatter covers the floor. It's a perfect stinger opener.
It is a good stinger opener. And obviously, at this time, they don't want you to know that it's Anton. How does he fit under the bed with that much mobility, even if it is him?
Well, you're bringing in an element of realism that doesn't belong in this movie.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's a very valid question. It's just, it doesn't. There is no way that we could believe that he would be able to do this.
I have to say, I was very disappointed after this stinger, though, because I wanted more Fred Willard. I didn't remember him being so short in the movie.
Yeah, it was more like a cameo, kind of like Robert Englund at the beginning of Hatchet.
Yeah, but I was saddened by it.
Yeah, he's just, I don't know. I've heard some negative stories about him in person, but on screen, I always love seeing him.
Absolutely.
Well, it's morning now. Anton, played by Devon Sawa, wakes up in bed. He's listening to, I forget the name of the band, but anyway, he's listening to terrible 90s music on his stereo headphones, looks disgusted by what he's hearing, takes off those headphones, puts on a different set of headphones attached to his Walkman, hits play, and we get the same song.
See, that's how he didn't hear his parents, because he had his headphones on and he was asleep with them on, and it couldn't have been him.
No way. There's no way it could have been him. They did a really good job of capturing the 90s in music here, though.
I guess.
Well, it's always 90s music, or late 90s music, contrasted with late 80s, early 90s music, which is much better in my opinion.
I mean, the movie came out, what did you say, 2003?
99.
Oh, was that the original release?
Yeah, my DVD release was 2003.
Ah, okay. Yeah, all right. So they were on par with the time.
Yes. He walks downstairs in what we soon find to be his usual stoner daze. Bones the cat follows him down and starts licking the blood that Anton just doesn't seem to notice. Great name for that cat, though. I love that cat. Good old Bones.
Just licking blood?
Yeah. I don't know how a cat would react to that.
It seems odd to me. And we're met with something we've seen a lot lately. A main character that, at least at the beginning, you're not supposed to like and comes off as just a garbage human being.
He's a loser.
Well, not just that. Like, he yells up to his mom that they need more
A couple of things.
milk and I don't remember the grocery list, but it's like he's a loser.
Dog food as well, I think.
Pardon?
Out of dog food also.
Right. But I mean, like, he wakes up, doesn't even get changed. He's presumably wearing the same clothes he's been wearing for days.
But he's not even wearing pants.
No. I mean, underwear can be considered clothes.
Yes, yeah.
Like, can't be bothered to even attempt to communicate unless it's to pull his headphones off to yell, like, that they need groceries, and then just go about his day again.
Flops on the couch, lights incense, smokes weed, which is from an asthma inhaler, which I always found kind of cool.
I mean, it's a good way to hide it. And
which works later in the movie.
They're both respiratory devices.
Anyway, he turns on the TV.
I just want a main character who right away is likable, right?
I'm sure we've covered a movie that has a likable main character throughout the entire film. Well, yeah, Fran Kranz and Bloodsucking Bastards.
I didn't like him at the beginning of the movie. He seemed too much of like a kiss-up.
He was that, you're right. Anyway.
Yeah.
News reports on the TV. It's covering a series of murders that originally followed a postal route, then ended up at a bowling alley, and finally at the Burger Jungle. Anton just decides to smoke more weed and kills the news in favor of Mr. Magoo cartoons.
I think that's the better choice, to be honest.
Yeah. Although I'm surprised Mr. Magoo is still on TV. Anton calls his friend Penub, played by Elden Henson, who I think you and I both know from Mighty Ducks.
For sure. I mean, you co-starred with him, so you would know him.
Yeah, quack. Jackass.
So much enthusiasm.
He calls his friend to buy more weed and puts up a fuss about having to go get it. Turns out it's only a short walk down the street. We do get good music finally, though, as his neighbor is working on his truck and listening to Motley Crue.
So...
That truck is massive.
I've never understood vehicles like that, but he doesn't want to walk to his friend's house, who's, 2 streets across? Like...
Yeah, I'd say maybe at most 3 houses away, 4 houses away.
All right, so we're continuing on the trend of this, like, loser, slacker, garbage human being.
Yep.
It's weird because it's like, is he supposed to be friends with his neighbor or just friendly? Like, I can't tell.
I don't think they're friends. I think it's more of like, we're neighbors, so we'll at least smile and make small talk. But Anton seems to just not care about Randy is his name at all. And Randy's at least trying to have some sort of like neighborly connection, which is weird because mainly throughout the rest of the movie, he obviously doesn't like Anton whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't get it. And I mean, hey, it's early morning, you're working on your truck, cracking open a cold beer,
listening to the Crew.
Trying to be nice to your neighbor. If he snubs you, that's it. Try to get rid of him.
But also, yeah, we have established it is the morning, and he did just crack open a beer, so.
I do want to make one comment. Jack Noseworthy here, that plays Randy. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you'll tell me I'm wrong, because you always do. But he really, really resembles, and I wouldn't be surprised if somebody told me, like, it's his son, Thomas Hayden Church.
I can kind of see that.
Right?
He looks like the son of Roach from Demon Knight.
Who is played by...
Thomas Hayden Church.
Which is what I just said.
I was reinforcing your statement, jackass.
I guess I'm just so used to you always being the mean, rude one and attacking me that I got defensive. I apologize. I am the I'm the nice guy on this show.
Right, yeah. No, I think they were definitely trying to go for that vibe, but try and make him younger. That's the only thing that really makes sense to me. But Anton, in a t-shirt, hoodie, boxers, and pink slippers, walks up to a house, pulls open the basement window, and climbs through. Inside, Pnub and Mick are arguing, with Pnub taking digs at Mick's mom. They tell Anton that they don't actually have any weed, and he's crushed. Pnub does tell him that he's heard you can get pretty messed up by smoking a combination of nutmeg and oregano. Now, this is something I had heard in high school. Like, that was always a rumor that was going around. Do you ever hear anything like that?
No.
Really?
No.
I guess that was never really your scene in the first place.
No. And to be honest, even if I did hear that, I'd be like, that sounds pretty stupid.
Oh, it definitely sounds stupid, but it's one of those things to be like, it's so stupid it just might work.
No, it's just so stupid it's stupid.
Well, I never did it. Don't, Jesus. Make your fucking assumptions.
What?
Sorry. Nothing. I got caught in a laugh there for a sec. Mick hits Anton with my favorite line of the movie, which establishes Anton as one of the biggest losers ever. Anton actually agrees, completely missing the point of what Mick just said. He mentions that he hasn't seen his parents in days, and Pnub immediately suggests they're dead. With the murderer on the loose, he has no idea what Pnub is talking about. What murderer?
This is the one that was on the news that you ignored. You're not going to figure out. Not going to get that
from Mr. Magoo.
Yeah, you're not going to get that information from Mr. Magoo.
No. A roar of a motorcycle is heard outside, and we're introduced to Jessica Alba's character, Molly. Anton's friends... What?
I'm not the biggest, machine head or anything like that. But that doesn't look like the most imposing, loud motorcycle that you would hear from such a distance.
No, it really isn't. I don't think it would make that loud of a sound. I mean, it is a nice bike, though.
Sure, but it's like Randy's truck should be making that noise, not her motorcycle.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, too, when I first heard that, I was like, I don't remember him starting up the truck.
Well, he would have been starting it up after he left the scene, right? Exactly. He was fixing it up.
Exactly. Anton's friends give us immediate backstory about how he's obsessed with her and she doesn't know he exists. Pnub tells Anton to ask her to the dance since there's a 9 p.m. curfew now and police forbid trick-or-treating. And that's their only option for something to do that night. A 9 p.m. curfew. And also, I find it hard to believe these guys are in high school.
It's more believable than, the 80s movies we've been looking at where they're 30-year-olds playing high schoolers.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. But it's just, I feel like that would have been abandoned by this point, but I guess not.
I mean, you need to have the dance, right? It makes more sense.
I guess. I'm trying to think, did anybody actually go to high school dances? I think I went to, a couple in grade 10. And then I was like, screw this.
Well, yeah, because you were one of the stoner kids.
Point.
You know who was that at the dances?
You?
Everybody else.
Losers.
Sure.
Anton sees that Molly has dropped her notebook in the street. Mick tells him that's the perfect opportunity for him to actually start talking to her. He agrees, and before he climbs out the window, Pnub offers him a pair of pants, first impressions and all.
Well, yeah. I mean, the outfit wasn't working for him. But, I mean, at least he stuck with the pink slippers.
Yeah, I didn't... I forgot that he wasn't wearing pants at this point. So I thought that was really funny that they would get one of the stoners to be, the down-to-earth, considerate, realistic friend.
I don't care. Mick and Pnub are my favorite characters.
They're great. It is obvious, I don't know, charisma and, what's the word I'm looking for?
Chemistry.
Chemistry, thank you. Between the two. And I don't think they've ever really worked before this. Together.
I don't think so, but I mean, they're on a whole level. They're on a whole other level themselves.
Yeah, then the comedic timing is perfect.
Oh, fantastic.
Anton takes the pants and leaves, and Pnub pulls out a bag of weed, obviously not dry after all. Sure. Now, there's I'm going to get back on the topic of smelling things here.
Okay.
Because there is one part in that previous scene where Mick just puts his hand down his pants and then pulls his hand out and smells it with a slightly disturbed look on his face. After this scene, Anton runs into the street to get the book. He grabs the book, and the first thing he does is he smells it before flipping through it, reading her song lyrics. This made me realize that not only are these two things kind of weird, but I am still not over that smelling the chips thing.
You know what's even worse, and I could be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure I remember it correctly. Not only does Seth Green, grab his balls and smell it, I think if you watch as Anton's leaving, he, uses the same hand to throw a Cheeto into Pnub's mouth.
Yep, cheesy poofs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. With a hand that smells awful from being on his junk.
Yeah, he's got ball palms. But, I mean, later on in the movie, we see that they really don't care about hygiene or anything.
No, but still.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm not, trying to defend him. I'm just saying,
You point out that he smells the book, which, probably carries her scent or her perfume, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Well,
but he also did just pick it up off the street.
And?
I don't know. I just find that weird.
It's not like it's a rainy day, it landed in a puddle. There's no dog shit. It just landed on the street. It's still going to smell like her.
Okay, fine, man. But, would you not find it weird? Say you were walking along the street with a friend who had a massive crush on a girl, or a guy, whatever, and that person walked by and dropped something of theirs, and your friend runs over, because they're going to pick it up and give whatever it is back to them, but they smell it first before they do that. You don't find that weird?
No.
What? Fucking explain that one to me.
I just said it carries the scent with it, her perfume.
That's fine. That doesn't mean you have to smell it.
It's not like it's a pair of panties. It's a book.
It's a fucking book. That's right.
People like to smell just books in the library, man. We used to work in a bookstore. People love the smell of fresh books.
I do not see people smelling fresh books.
Just get on with it, man. You're being weird again. I'm not going to do another poll.
You're the fucking weird one. You and your smelling shit. All right, sorry.
I'm not going to do another poll to prove you wrong yet again.
That was rigged.
Okay.
He rings the doorbell and immediately panics. Before he can run away, Molly opens the door. Happy to see her book, she thanks Anton, whose only reaction is to drive it into her arms as hard as he can and hurriedly walk away. Yeah. This was a great comedic scene for me. This was on par with Bruce Dern falling through the porch.
No.
It was for me because he almost drives her back through her doorway into her house with how hard he pushes that book into her arms.
Maybe it would be on par with the falling through the porch if he pushed her over the railing of the porch or something. But
yeah, okay.
It's don't get me wrong, it's good. But falling through the porch is another level, man. It's going to take a lot.
Well, I think the reason why this worked for me is that he seems to not give a shit about anything. So to see him so stressed out about returning a book, I don't know. I think it worked for me. It's one little bit of character development. Because you say he's a character that we're not supposed to like at the beginning, and then we like him as the movie progresses. I don't, really. So seeing little bits of sharp character development like this happen, it really affects me.
No, it's because he didn't have his morning weed, man, and we didn't have anything to mellow himself out.
Yeah, that's true. I should have known better.
You're welcome.
Next, we're in a police station in Beaver, Utah. An officer is escorting Sister Liqueur, or as he calls her, Sister Liquor, played by Vivica A. Fox. Guiding her along the holding cells. She wants to know if the officer is sure they're going to see the right man. They stop at a cell whose occupant is leaning against the bars, his face frozen in terror. The camera pans down to reveal the man's elongated, disfigured right hand. And we hear the whisper, "It's gone." I always found it kind of creepy whenever I watch this movie. Yeah.
Is it not explained that once that person was dead, essentially the host, that the creature possession, whatever it is. I don't know if they actually explain what sort of... It's just a demonic entity, right?
Yeah.
It finds a new host, right? And it looks for the laziest, most useless person it can. Should this scene have not happened earlier? Because it feels like if that guy was dead longer, they would have noticed earlier. But clearly, if there was a line of murders, including Anton's parents, that probably would have happened before the guy died in the jail cell, no?
He wasn't dead.
What do you mean?
It doesn't kill the host.
No, I'm saying the guy in the jail cell was dead.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Okay, let's play an early ad. What do you say?
Fine. Are you going to try and find the video to prove yourself wrong?
Sure.
Sweet.
Knights and Nerds is not just an actual play D&D podcast with an original campaign being played by a group of friends who tolerate each other. It's also a podcast where I, the Dungeon Master, talk about how I'm adapting to the choices the players make, as well as revealing to you, the audience, the complex story and deadly twists that I have in store for my players. Find us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, or at knightsandnerds.com.
Alright, we're back. And to be honest, we just watched that scene. It doesn't seem cut and dry to me one way or the other.
There is definitely an argument for both perspectives. I think that he was alive and the possessing entity, the demon or whatever, left his body because he was arrested and it knew it couldn't get to anybody from inside the cell.
You know what?
But I do understand that it might have killed him because it couldn't get out of the cell and it left. We don't know, I guess, that if the possessing demon thingy does leave the physical hand, that the host won't die. We don't know that.
Yeah, it's pretty vague. And they show the guy so briefly that it is hard to tell. Okay, I concede.
Do they show the police officer, though, the sheriff? Do they show his reaction?
No. As soon as they show that, it cuts to her outside going back to her trailer. Okay. So they don't actually...
It shows her reaction, just not his.
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, if it showed his reaction and he had the same look on his face, I think you would be right at that point that he would be dead, because something changed that this guy had not seen before.
I think this is neither a win or a loss for either of us. I think it's pretty neutral. I think the movie kept it too vague for that.
All right, I'll take the win on that one then.
No, it's a neutral. It's tie.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
All right, whatever.
Okay. So outside, Debbie storms over to her sick fucking Airstream. I love that RV. The whole while tearing off the nun habit that she was using as a disguise. She's tracking the killer across the country. We see her marking X's on a map for every town where the killer is struck and realizes it forms a pentagram, even though, no, it doesn't. It definitely does not resemble a pentagram at all, and she's going out of her way to make that assumption.
The top right one? She doesn't even connect it.
No, and there's like a group of 4 or 3 in the top right corner, and then like she just keeps the arc going for the bottom quarter of the bottom left-hand quarter of the pentagram, and there's nothing there to mark.
Seems to me that since this is something they control in props, they could have easily made it actually do so.
I know, and like she jumps behind the wheel of the Airstream and speeds off, but where? Where is she going?
The center of the pentagram.
Which doesn't make sense, though, because she has the newspaper article about the murders in the other town, but those aren't marked in X's on the map. The pentagram wasn't pointing to anything.
The impression that I got was that, yes, she crudely drew a pentagram that didn't actually line up, but that her destination was the center of the pentagram.
Okay. What an arbitrary place to pick, though, because as we just covered, it doesn't make a pentagram.
Again, they easily could have controlled that when they made the props. That's
all of the X's are kind of clustered together, and the center of the pentagram is very far away from those. But okay, I mean, yeah, sure, it's in the center. We'll go with it.
The thing is, there was already killings in the town that she's going to.
Yes. She had the articles for them on the wall.
That could have been the center point. It
Like,
just seems like such a weird oversight that they controlled so heavily.
Yeah. I did start off listening to the commentary on the DVD. I only got about not that far into it, a few, maybe 15, 20 minutes. And they are not against pointing out mistakes they made or things that don't make sense in the movie. It's kind of fun. I'd recommend people check it out. Anyway, Anton is riding his grocery cart home after going to the store. And this is how weird little things stick out in my mind. Because I had a really weird nostalgic trip back to when grocery carts didn't have those locking wheel things and you could just take them wherever you wanted to go.
You still can at some grocery stores.
Oh, really?
Well, the non-major chain ones. Like, I live next to
that makes sense.
A grocery store that's, not a chain. It's individually owned. And, the shopping carts always leave the property. Usually to my apartment building, and bums just leave them in the front corridors and stuff. But, you can still do that. My question in this scene is, where did this loser bum that is just a garbage human being thus far get money for groceries?
Oh, he definitely took it from somewhere in the house.
I guess.
That's all it could be.
Or he stole the groceries.
Yeah. One thing that, other than that stood out to me is that it was incredibly foggy, but then I noticed that the piles of leaves are billowing in smoke. Like, a lot of smoke.
Okay.
Did you not notice that?
No, not at all.
Okay. We're taking a quick break. You have to watch this because I need to hear your reaction to it. It's visually confusing.
I must have missed that entirely. They were clearly using the leaves to cover up smoke machines, but that makes me wonder, what the hell was it supposed to be in the movie?
I don't know. It was way too thick to be fog.
And it clearly comes up more subtly. Or not suddenly. It comes out suddenly, because when it first shows him wheeling the cart, it's not so bad. And then all of a sudden, almost like it's a demonic entity entering his body.
Yeah.
Although we know that already happened.
Exactly. So there's just smoke machines for some reason. And they even point that out in the commentary. I think it's Seth Grade. He's just like, smoking leaves again. I forgot it was that time of year.
Doesn't make sense.
It's so weird. It's so out of place. But when we were just talking about them not having like any attention to detail, and they do this. Like, this is an actual choice they made. And they put it on film, not just for a shot. They have multiple contraptions like this that you see repeatedly.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. He hears a noise and freezes. He resumes walking and is tackled out of nowhere. It's officers Ruck and McMacy, Nick Sadler, and Sean Whalen.
Yeah.
I love Sean Whalen. He's just so great in everything.
I mean, I can't think of anything he's done that's not like these cameo scenes. Or not cameos, bit parts is maybe a more accurate term.
He was Roach in The People Under the Stairs.
Okay, again, I haven't seen that. I'm just looking for the terminology. What I've seen him in is is it bit parts? Is that accurate?
Smaller roles, like in Twister.
But every time I do, it's fantastic.
Yeah, man. He actually elevated Pauly Shore's jury duty for a bit.
Pauly Shore needs no elevation, sir.
Oh, that's right. You're the Biodome fan.
No. Not a chance.
These two were nerds in high school who now abuse their powers police officers. Shockingly modern.
That does not seem like the kind of thing that nerds would do. Like, it feels
I disagree. I think that's exactly what nerds would do, especially small town nerds.
I don't know.
Because we don't really know where this is, do we?
Boulder?
Is it in Boulder?
I think Debbie says where it is when she's in her Airstream, but I'm not going back a third time, so...
Yeah, fine. That's fine. We'll just go with it. McMacy calls him... Oh, sorry. After they throw him up against the wall, he asks if either of them are holding. McMacy calls him an asshole for trying to buy weed from a cop. Then they search him. He tries to throw off the excuse, these aren't even my pants, which they're not. They belong to Penub. They write him up for having an empty bag that smells like weed. McMacy then throws the bag on the ground, and they add littering to the fine. Now, I think that it was, what, $200? I think a $200 ticket for littering and whatever kind of possession they were going to have there, I think it would be a lot more than $200, especially with the 1999 view of marijuana in the States by police officers.
But they can't pin it on marijuana because they don't actually have it. And to be honest, they didn't get any identification from him anyway, so a citation can't really be put in the system appropriately. He would just pitch it.
Yeah. Well, back at his house, he uses his new ticket as rolling paper for his nutmeg and oregano experiment. He gets the dog to lick the paper to finish his roll, and then hears a noise upstairs. Thinking he's just hearing things, he lights up and takes a massive haul. It does not go well.
Is this flashbacks here for you, buddy?
No.
No?
Not at all. I don't know what you're talking about.
You did try it.
No, I didn't try it.
You totally did.
I didn't.
Yeah.
Don't you pin your lies on me.
So, Ben, based on your experience, how true to life do you think that this reaction was to it?
I mean, it was pretty accurate. No, it didn't go well for him because nobody would do that, and they're showing you in the movie that nobody would do that.
Oh, man. Slow days in Halifax.
He starts coughing, gagging, and choking, and immediately guzzles water from the tap. Apparently, the shot of him like spraying the dish detergent into his mouth as well was completely improvised, and it was actual dish detergent.
Oh, that couldn't have tasted good.
No. But at least now it's sandwich time. Anton makes one of the most disgusting sandwiches I've ever seen, which I think is just bologna and mayo.
Yeah.
But there's just fucking mayonnaise all over it, like a slob. Yeah, go for it.
I can't think of a time where I've ever been that distracted that I don't look down even once during the process of making the sandwich.
Especially when you've got a long knife that you're just kind of slapping into your hand.
Do they not have butter knives?
Yeah, I've never seen anybody spread anything on a sandwich with a bread knife.
He's a stoner. What do you want?
He's too caught up in the big-breasted girl in the music video he's watching to notice that the knife he's using is actually covered in blood. So, bologna and blood mayo. Delicious.
Mm-hmm.
He finally sees the blood on the knife after cramming half the sandwich in his face, putting the knife back in the mayo jar. He spits out his sandwich everywhere. That shit went everywhere. And immediately freaks out thinking the killer's in his house. We then see Bones, the cat, licking and chewing on a severed eyeball. Anton's reaction is to run and hug the dog. He decides to search the house, pushing the dog around the corner and into the hallway in front of him.
I like that scene.
I loved it too, because the dog wants none of it, and he's just slowly sliding into the frame of the camera.
I don't know. It was a good visual bit, and I mean, it does continue on the bumbly garbage human being that he is, but it's just a fun sight gag.
And that's something I really had problems with when making these notes. It's hard to make notes for a comedy like this in the first place, because the dialogue is what makes it funny. Now, in this film, there are so many sight gags that I don't want to just describe everything, because you can't describe some of it. It's meant to be seen. So there's a lot of shit that's already happened that we haven't touched on, but you definitely need to watch.
Oh, don't worry. We said it at the beginning. We assume you've already watched this movie. Everybody who's here is along for the ride with us. They've already seen it.
I know for a fact that's not true, but okay, I'll go with you.
Matt, can you just give me a break? Just one.
I always... You harass me all the time.
I dare you to find an episode where I'm just constantly harassing you.
The last one? The one before that? I don't know. I can think of 37.
Okay. I can't wait to see your report on this, because it'll be 0 lines. Our audience knows.
That's why I don't understand why you're continuing the charade.
Ben, just calm down.
Charade? Charade?
Charade. Just
charade.
Calm. Charade.
Shiraz.
You're doing it again!
All right. He's just about to the front door when he's spooked by a shadow outside and runs upstairs and into his parents' room.
Even the shadow,
like a weird place to go.
Even the shadow through the window, I was like, that's Seth Green.
That's what?
Seth Green.
I thought it was Penub.
No, it's Seth Green.
Okay. He dives onto the bed and under the covers, calling the dog, who joins him immediately. From under the blanket, Anton blindly reaches for the phone, accidentally setting off the alarm clock, which was pretty funny. He freaks out and jumps and then sees the message on the ceiling. He runs down the stairs screaming, trips over an umbrella he dropped previously, and falls into the 2 pumpkin people Halloween decorations. They fall, the pumpkins break open, and reveal his parents' corpses. You think that would... Well, I guess there's only a day. Probably smell, though. Anton runs outside to vomit and gets scared by Penub and Mick. He pushes them into the house to show them the crime scene, and all they notice is a music video playing on the TV.
They start dancing to it.
Yeah. I didn't think they were allowed to show this video. Anton turns it off, and now with no distraction, the boys freak out at what they see. Penub checks for pulses. Mick can't process the situation, asking if this is some sort of a prank. I love that when Anton turns around to walk away for a second, he turns back and looks over at his father's body, and Penub is there just wailing on his chest, pounding on it, trying to do CPR. Again, zeitgeist. They discover a torn piece of clothing in Norma's hand. It is Norma, right? I got that right?
You're the one who said it was Norma, not me.
Norma's hand. Anton notices ant written in blood on the floor. They were killed by ants? A knocked over bag from Burger Jungle reveals 2 left ears. The joke of ear rings instead of onion rings. Funny. Mick then figures out the torn piece of fabric belongs to the shirt Anton is wearing. Mick thinks the killer was wearing his shirt. Anton somehow only now sees the same paint on his hand that was used to write at the ceiling message and says that the killer was wearing him. He's the killer. I don't know why he just saw the paint on his hand. Or why we wouldn't have, because the light didn't change. It's just now the paint's glowing. I
don't know. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can almost brush off as just him being completely in his own world, but you think he would have looked at his hand at some point.
And not only that, but we ourselves as the viewers have seen the hand. And it didn't do that. Mick and Penub and Molly and Randy have all seen the hand and didn't notice anything.
Well, Randy would have been from a distance, so I'll let him have a pass.
It's one of those weird things that we just have to let go, but it makes no sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Mick slowly walks off in a daze to call 911, and Penub hits his pipe. On the phone, Mick tells the operator that something's wrong with his friend. He thinks he took some nutmeg or something. Anton rips the phone jack out of the wall. He tells Mick that he can't be the killer. He would remember doing something like that. Mick opens the fridge door as a protective barrier between them and covers it by offering Anton a beer. Anton grabs the beer, breaks it, and stabs Mick in the head, killing him. Great sound editing in the next little part here. As panicked Anton shakes Mick's corpse in disbelief, and we hear and see some of the beer still in the bottle sloshing around against his skull. It's good, man.
And sometimes their attention to detail is for the better, and sometimes it's just completely out to lunch. So, I don't know.
Penub tries to escape, but Anton, now led by his hand, chases him all over the house. He locks himself in the basement, but Anton punches through the door and goes after him. And I think this is fully here where it's established that Anton's hand has a mind of its own.
Mm-hmm. I think we're supposed to believe that, like, the other killings Anton doesn't remember because he was sleepwalking?
I would imagine.
Because all of a sudden he becomes cognizant of the crimes he's committing. So I have to assume that if the other ones happened at night, he was asleep and the hand was just leading his way.
That makes sense too, because we know at the frequency that he smokes weed, he probably just chain smokes weed. So he was out cold at night when that would have happened.
It makes sense to me.
But then you've got things like the twins at Burger Jungle, because there's security footage. And then you think there'd be some footage from the bowling alley. Never mind, I'm not going to look into it too much. It's going to ruin the movie.
Sure.
Pnub runs up the stairs, but the hand grabs a saw blade and whips it at him, decapitating Pnub, whose head rolls down the stairs. And he says, "Cool," I think. I really didn't like that.
Yeah. I know it says something, but I didn't like... No, once it was detached, it shouldn't have said anything.
Yeah. Anton goes back upstairs and sits on the couch. He definitely needs to process what just happened. The evil right hand picks up the TV remote and turns on the television. I don't know what the video is on TV, but it fucking rules, and I really want to know. Anton grabs the remote with his other hand and puts on cartoons. Now we get a pretty funny fight between the hands as they wrestle each other for the TV remote.
You know what? Very well acted.
Extremely well acted.
Like
once the hand is like visibly the antagonist, Devon Sawa does a great job.
It really does feel like I'm watching this scene, right? And it could be very easy to make it look like you're just playing tug of war with the remote yourself.
Yeah.
But he acts it so well that even I slip into a level of disbelief where it's like, yeah, these are two different entities fighting for the remote.
Yeah, no, he did a great job. And I remember the first time I saw this scene, I was like, they made a full movie out of that 5-minute scene from Evil Dead 2.
Mm-hmm.
Because do you remember that when Ash's hand is possessed?
No.
Have you seen Evil Dead 2?
Oh yeah. And I remember the beat points. That's why he cuts his hand off and has a severed limb to put the chainsaw on. And but I just don't remember the minute details because I haven't seen it in a very long time.
Okay, if you get a chance, anybody listening to, go back and find that scene on YouTube or whatever, and it is fantastic acting by Bruce Campbell, just as good as Devon Sawa here. He did a great job. I was really impressed with Sawa. Bones approaches the struggle and paws at the evil hand. The good left hand wins the fight, and the right hand grabs the cat by the tail and throws it out the window and across the street.
At least he's safe. He's safe. The cat is okay. No animals were harmed in the making of this movie.
Do we see Bones again after this?
I don't know, but he's safe.
Okay. All right, he's safe. Anton goes to look for the cat, which is in Molly's yard somewhere. He looks through the bushes, but the right hand grabs the porch railing and launches Anton to the front door and rings the doorbell. Anton struggles to remove his hand from the bell, having to push off against the house with his foot, knocking himself backwards over the railing and into the yard.
He should have done.
It was good comedy.
He should have done that to her when he was handing her the book.
It was funny though. Again, the sight gags here, the physical comedy is great, and it all comes from people you would never expect it to.
I would expect it from Seth Green.
Physical comedy?
Sure, why not?
All right. Molly answers the door in her PJs, and Anton pops up from the ground in his bloody shirt. She questions what he's doing in her yard. He says he's looking for his cat. They got into a fight. There's some flirting between the two. Right hand trying to grab Molly when she isn't looking. At one point, the hand actually does grab Molly, but first it grabs Anton by his face. Molly asks if he wants to go inside. We can hear a muffled no come from under the hand, but his hand moves his head up and down in a sick nod. She grabs him by the arm and takes him inside. Again, more great physical acting. Good job, Sawa. They're in her room now. She thanks him for returning her book, then gets mad when she finds out he read it. He charms her by singing a verse from one of her songs, and next is a series of sight gags again, such as the evil hand grabbing Molly's ass. They make out in a horribly uncomfortable scene. Well, Debbie's still en route speeding down the highway. That's all we see of Debbie for a while. Molly's parents come home and we get a zinger of a line. We'll have to pick this up later, baby snakes. My parents might take offense to some dirty, bloody boy banging their daughter. They make plans to go to the dance, and Anton leaves through the window.
What the hell is Molly's character here?
I don't know what her character is at all.
I mean, I guess it's a person he's never talked to that just invites him into her bed and, clearly recognizes that it's blood on his shirt, is not even questioning that?
No.
All right.
No, I don't know. I don't know what her personality is. She's not okay, I've met people like Anton. I've met people like Mick and Penub. I haven't met anybody like Molly. It's like she seems to be an extreme caricature of something.
Yeah, Molly, get your life together. Jesus.
It's just weird. I mean, like, it's Jessica Alba, and this movie, actually, it was this movie that made me think she was bad at her craft. And I realize now it's not the case. It's just, the character doesn't make any sense.
No sense at all.
Moving on.
Yeah, it's probably best.
Next, Anton buries his parents and friends in the backyard and gives a shitty eulogy. As soon as he finishes, he hears Mick moaning underground, eventually talking to him and trying to convince Anton that he was only knocked out. The two friends burst out of the ground, make their way toward Anton, and knock him out accidentally with a shovel. Anton wakes up in bed, questioning what he must have taken the previous night, and heads downstairs. He's relieved to hear his friends chatting on the couch, but the reality of the situation is revealed when he sees Penub's severed head talking to Mick's rotting corpse, which was a good reveal. They're now zombies, simply because they didn't walk toward the light, since it was really far.
Too far.
No, and that's the thing. This has always bugged me about this movie. They use a different line in the trailer that works much better than the line they use in the movie.
Okay.
Yeah, in the movie, Mick says, and we're like, forget that. I mean, it was really far. And in the trailer, we're like, forget that. Too far. And it's just him shrugging it off. And him saying, I mean, it was really far, is not a Mick line. He would not say that from what we've seen. It's not the way he speaks. So I don't know why they would choose to use an inferior line. And I'm looking way too deeply into this. I'm sorry. I'll move on.
Okay. Sounds good.
Anton tells Mick and Penub that he thinks his hand is possessed. They suggest talking to Randy, the neighbor who was working on his truck earlier. Anton finds him at the Burger Jungle parking lot memorial site for the Feldstein twins that were murdered there. Randy's only reason for being there is to hit on grieving high school girls, even though he, quote, got out about 3 years ago. Randy gets mad at Anton for cock-blocking him and drives off in his truck, running over the memorial site and heading into the drive-thru lane.
So, Randy is trying to pick up girls at a memorial.
Mm-hmm.
This is a quality human being. This is definitely our protagonist, right?
Which is weird, because when we first see him, he seems fine. And now the second time we see him, he's a complete jackass and creep.
Yeah.
It's a weird jump, but whatever.
To be honest, I feel like with Randy, they couldn't quite decide what kind of character to make him, and they jumped back and forth a few times. Yeah,
like, sometimes he's an asshole, and sometimes he's like the friend trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Anton grabs a Burger Jungle uniform and runs inside, pretending to be an employee to get to the drive-thru window. Once entering the back room, Anton's evil hand goes crazy upon seeing all the dangers a fast food restaurant kitchen offers.
Shit, yeah, man.
Yeah, it was great. Just knives everywhere, the hot oil for fries. Anton tells Blink-182's Tom DeLonge that it's break time and takes over the window.
This is a cameo we didn't need.
Oh, yeah, right? Didn't need it, didn't want it.
I'm not going to say want or not, because, I mean, it's a cameo. I'm not going to get, like, bent out of shape for a 2-second scene.
Yeah.
But it feels like for a cameo, like, could you not have given him, like, 10 seconds more? Make it worth your while to even have him on there? Because it is so easy to miss that cameo entirely.
Yeah. I mean, they weren't super famous at that time, I don't think. They
Fair.
were just on the verge.
Fair, but I mean, like I said, like at least enough screen time to establish who it is. I wouldn't have known who that was if I didn't look it up. And not because I don't recognize him. I know Blink-182, but simply because it was on screen for such a short time.
Yeah, I was talking with a friend about this movie a few days ago, and he was like, oh yeah, and Tom DeLonge, Blink-182's in it. Like, what? And I forgot he had said that, so when I was watching it, I was like, holy shit, that is Tom DeLonge. because it was already in my brain. But like, yeah, he's just there. You blink and you miss him. Like, there's no reason for them to even put him in this movie. So
you blink 182.
Anton wants Randy to tell him everything about the devil. That's a good joke. It's fine.
I actually prefer the Burger Jungle manager.
The manager was the crazy guy from Blast from the Past.
I know his name is Joey Slotnick. I couldn't tell you what he's in because I never can. But it was definitely one of those I know that guy moments.
Yeah. Well, he also has a weird like resemblance to Paul Giamatti.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Yeah.
Sorry. Anton wants Randy to tell him everything about the devil. He thinks his hand is possessed and making him do things. Randy doesn't really get it, but says to just keep the hands busy. That's why he's always working on his truck. Idle hands are the devil's playground. Anton's solution is to watch Rob Zombie videos and take up knitting.
So Anton's rationale for asking Randy for help is that he's really into metal.
Yep.
I don't think that makes you an expert.
It doesn't. It really doesn't. And like, even Randy goes into it saying like, I just listen to music, man.
Yeah.
Like it's no different than and then list off like Mozart and Beethoven. So like again, rationale coming from the completely irrational guy.
Yep.
Flop. Officers Ruck and McMacy show up at Anton's house after receiving a noise complaint. They see Anton and zombie Mick and Penub on the couch. I love that Mick is asleep and Penub's head is just laying there, eyes closed.
Yeah.
They immediately believe Anton is the killer then. And they aren't wrong. He did kill both of them.
Yeah, that's true. I like that they made it that they're asleep.
Yeah, so it looks like he's just sitting with dead bodies.
Yes, because if they were awake, obviously it's a different reaction. I mean, much like what we're about to get.
Yeah, well, yeah, they... Where they're wrong is they decide not to call backup and try and take him in themselves.
Stupid idea.
Yeah, they bust through the front door and Anton's hand kills them. And in very inventive deaths.
We did miss, or didn't mention that one of them, I think it was Ruck, freaks out when Penub wakes up, so to speak, or whatever.
Yeah.
And shoots him in the head. It's ineffective, obviously.
It's also leading up to that. Mick says he should he should probably do what they say.
Yeah,
and that's when Penub gets shot in the head, and then he just gives up. But yeah, Ruck takes a knitting needle through the ear and out the other, and McMacy takes a taser to the face, or a stun gun to the face, and it cooks him.
Pour one out for our boy.
Poor Waylon. Anton decides he has to cut his hand off now. Unfortunately for him, the Bagel guillotine's blade is plastic and just bends around his wrist. Anton grabs a butcher's knife, and we get more sight gags as his hand dodges every attempt. He finally gets Penub's severed head to bite down on the hand, and success! The hand is off, and they cauterize the stump with an iron.
Was this when Seth Green grabs like the electric?
The electric knife, and he just runs. I found the scene funny but confusing, and it doesn't really make sense, and that's why I left it out. But maybe you can explain it to me. Because he grabs the electric knife that's plugged in, turns it on, holds it up over his head, and runs towards Devon Sawa, saying, "Look at me, I'm Leatherface!" But the cord isn't long enough, and it just pulls out of the outlet. They react like he just fucked up the knife, and now it will never work again. All you have to do is plug it in. So I feel like they had a great sight gag with a great joke, and the payoff was nonsensical, and they still left it in the movie.
I think it's not so much that they couldn't plug it back in, just the realization that the hand's not going to freely come over there, so they need another idea.
Yeah, but he's pretty much in control of his body, just not his hand, so he could have just walked over there. Too much?
I mean, you can use that same argument when he goes into Molly's place The hand nods his head up and down, but his feet could have just stayed on the porch.
That is true.
So
The boys leave for Penub's house to get antiseptic and burritos, leaving an exhausted and traumatized Anton behind. He slides to the floor but hears something scurrying about. He looks to his left and sees a message on the floor written in blood. Bad move, Anton. Sentient hand, man. Can spell, too.
a new cameo, man. That's the thing from Adam's Family, right?
Yes, it is.
He's counting all the cameos down.
He grabs the butcher knife and the doorbell rings. Molly is there and ready for the dance. He warns her to stay outside, and the severed hand drops from the ceiling and grabs his face. And actually, from here is basically where we get a pumped-up 30-minute version of the scene from Evil Dead 2. Anton wrestles the hand off his face, throws it in the microwave, and turns it on. Really cool effects here as the hand begins to writhe and blister and eventually spew blood. Also, I think I'm just a fan of using microwaves in horror films. Just like in Gremlins.
Wasn't that a blender?
There was a blender too. But yeah, Billy's mom definitely microwaved the shit out of a gremlin.
Yeah, the only one that really stood out to me was the blender, but I believe you.
Yeah. He's stunned by Molly's angel costume, and when asked, he tells her his costume is a fast food employee who cut off his own hand.
Such a oh, that one. Yes, yeah. Yes, it's a common one this year. I think I walked by 3 of them on my way here.
Mick and Penub return with a first aid kit, including adhesive strips, the ouch-free kind. Mick then reattaches Penub's head to his body using a carving fork. They open the microwave to throw in a burrito, and the severed hand flies out, breaking through a window and taking off into the night.
So it can fly through a window, but not the door of the microwave. Is it because it needed the velocity, or...?
Yeah, I think so.
Sure.
Let's try and come up with some science to defend that one.
Yep.
Penub takes a bite of a burrito, and it just oozes out of his neck. Mick comes up with a quick fix of using duct tape to seal it up. That is really gross. Even today, that still grossed me out.
Yeah,
yeah. Meanwhile, the hand's on the move.
That was a good contribution on my part.
Yeah. I'll read the next notes in that voice. Randy's at the bowling alley.
No, don't do that.
Sorry, Randy's at the bowling alley and spots Debbie. She's there following up on the articles she's read, wondering if the killer is still there. She and Randy have a beer while he tries to put the moves on her. He asks her what brought her here, and she tells him that she comes from a line of druidic priestesses sworn to fight an evil force that possesses the laziest fuck-up it can find. It will kill as many people as possible and then drag a free soul into the netherworld. She actually has the thing that could kill it. It just has to find the person with the possessed hand. Randy tells her about Anton, and the hunt is on.
She's quite open with this information.
Yeah, you'd think that's something you would kind of keep on the DL, man.
I'm sure a lot of people would not react like Randy and would probably be like, this woman is a psycho.
Yeah.
But, I mean...
he's totally in on it. Like, he loves it.
I guess...
He stays by her the whole time.
I guess it does work just in the sense that it is exactly what Anton was telling him earlier in the day. So I give that credit there.
And again, this is like Randy being a creep who then does the right thing.
For the wrong reasons.
For the wrong reasons, yes. Anton is outside looking for his hand and sees another message. This one is scrawled on a fence and reads, "She's mine." He runs inside to get Mick and Penub. They have to go to the dance because the hand is after Molly. And I love that Mick and Penub are watching the old Dawn of the Dead here.
It's very fitting.
It is. Mick tries to convince Anton that since he cut off his hand, it's now somebody else's problem. He should smoke a bowl and have some Anton time. Which seems like a really weird thing for Mick to do.
Yeah, it's not quite his character, really. I mean, earlier in the movie, he's the one that's telling Anton to have some ambition, be motivated.
Oh, you know what? That makes sense, because right after the Anton timeline, Anton refuses and describes his life, a callback to that scene. So it's almost like they switched views.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, anyway, Anton doesn't let Mick finish, cuts him off. Mick doesn't let Anton finish and cuts him off. He doesn't want any Kevin Costner speeches, so they should just go.
I like that.
It was good.
It's like we know where we're heading with this. Let's just get to it.
Yeah, which is very much Mick's character.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like a weird, bumpy back and forth there. Anyway, Debbie and Randy arrive just as the boys are stealing Randy's truck. The engine roars, the motley crew is blaring, and they don't hear the sound of the truck hitting Debbie as they back out of the driveway. She goes flying. But super creepy Randy scene of doing CPR. She wakes up and they play it off as a joke.
Yeah, the part that made it creepy is not that he tried to give her CPR, because she was out.
He looks side to side to make sure no one's looking, and then does the creepiest fucking smile. And leans in.
That's the part that makes it creepy.
It's just so gross.
Like I said, Randy's inconsistent, man.
Yeah. High school couple making out in the car at the dance. Hand makes short work of them after groping the girl. Because I guess the movie needed nudity. I don't think it did, but whatever. The boys arrive at the dance, and I do love that every time Randy's car is running, it's blaring the same Motley Crue song.
That cassette is just stuck in there and it just keeps playing over and over again. Shout
at the devil. Every time. That's the third time now. And the thing is, they turned the car on and that song was playing. They drive to the school and the song is still playing.
Well, it's clearly not coming from the radio like a station that's playing it. But.
I know. It just seems like if this was a CD or a cassette, it's a recorded cassette where it's just Shout at the Devil over and over again, or it's just the CD track that's put on repeat. I would like to think it's the cassette.
Maybe it's the cassette. Maybe he just really likes that song, so he just recorded an entire cassette, both sides of the same song.
How did the high school get the Offspring to play their Halloween dance, especially in an area that has an active serial killer on the loose?
Are we supposed to believe that it's Offspring, or is it just Offspring playing a band? Because I don't know if they actually say this is the Offspring, do they?
They don't, no. But they do make a big deal about the band that's playing.
I just let it go.
The hand kills, I guess, the principal, who is having a telephone argument about the validity of his credit card while trying to get onto a sex line.
Yeah, this was unnecessary.
It was.
This entire scene of the principal trying to get through to a sex line just to get killed off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pointless. Debbie and Randy arrive at school. The hand sharpens its fingers in an electric pencil sharpener, which I always enjoyed seeing.
It's a good visual. Just seeing it with like the sharpened fingers.
Debbie finds Anton in a hallway. She tells him she knows what's going on. She can help. She then grabs a ceremonial dagger from a bag and tries to kill him.
Yeah, I believe it's called a Chris.
A Chris?
Yes.
All right. How do you know that?
Just move on.
They have a back and forth fight before Anton shows Debbie and Randy that he already cut the hand off. Debbie freaks out because if the hand is set on getting Molly, then it will drag her soul to hell at midnight. No problem, though. It's not even 9 p.m. If only it was that easy, though, because Debbie shows them that it's actually 6 minutes to midnight Druid time.
Yes, correct. I'm glad that at no point do they say that it's going to drag, like, an innocent or virgin soul to hell. Because then it wouldn't be Molly.
No.
Oh, I forgot to point out, when they show the band playing, the band, quote-unquote, band, Molly's dancing. But for someone who's supposedly a bassist in a band, is nowhere near on with the music at all. Did you notice this?
No, I didn't pay attention.
Okay, never mind.
The hand is now in the gym where the dance is. It locks the doors and snaps off the latches. Anton tries to warn the students, but Dexter Holland tries to shut him down. The hand drops from the rafters and rips off Dexter's scalp. Everyone panics and runs for the exits. You know what this reminded me of?
Ooh, No, what did it remind you of?
Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
How so?
The monster arriving at the dance. All the students panicking when somebody dies, and they all rush for the doors. but they can't get out.
Okay.
This is also filmed in the same gym as that scene from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'll tell you which of the two was better. This one.
I was waiting, and I was very nervous. The hand is cutting ropes and dropping lighting rigs on the kids below. Molly and her friend decide to make an escape through the air ducts. They make their way to a massive whirring fan. To make it through, Molly jams it with her friend Tanya's shoe. Luckily enough, Tanya is dressed as the devil and has a whip, because I guess the devil carries a whip.
I think it was supposed to be her tail.
Oh, it was her tail. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They used the prop to tie it to the fan so they can lower themselves to the floor below.
No way that a prop tail from a Halloween costume would carry their weights.
Nope. Molly goes first and makes it through. We know what's going to happen next.
Yeah, this is way too predictable.
Wraps the tail around Tanya's neck, and she falls through the fan blades, hanging herself. The hand removes the shoe, and the now spinning fan pulls Tanya up into its blades, killing her. Molly runs to the art room and is knocked out by something ceramic falling on her head. There's a lot of attacks from above in this movie.
Yeah.
Anton shows up, but the hand is now inside a puppet. The two fight again. I do like the puppet design, but I find it kind of weird. He's got it trapped and is about to crush it, but a grate falls from the ceiling, hitting him on the head. Penub and Mick drop down from the opening, telling Anton they're there to save him, but he's furious because they let the hand go again.
So, didn't the hand just knock out Molly?
Yeah.
How did it already get into this room and into the puppet? And then
I don't know.
They quickly follow it after this, and it's again managed to position itself in... Okay, just go on with the next scene.
They hear Molly scream from auto class and rush to her. She's been tied to the top of a car on a hydraulic lift that is slowly rising toward the ceiling.
No way the hand had enough time to do this before he got into the puppet scene or after.
Have you ever tried to tie a knot with one hand?
No? Why would I try that?
Just try sometime. It is almost fucking impossible.
Well, this is a demonic hand. I'm not going to doubt its ability to tie a rope, but...
Right, I should have realized that it has demon knot tying powers.
But I will question its teleporting ability and how it somehow managed to do this. Like, it would have had to drag Molly onto the car, tie her down, and get to the hydraulic controls in the span of seconds.
Yeah, keep in mind we're also watching a movie where they get a hand stoned.
That hasn't happened yet, man. Spoilers.
It's not... You said that everybody's already listened, or anybody listening to this has already seen the movie.
Calm down, man. Calm down.
Okay, fine. Anton tries to pull her off the car, but instead accidentally rips off most of her costume. The boys fight the hand in an attempt to reverse the lift handle. Mick finds Mighty Joe Bong, a bong made out of car mufflers, and he and Anton and Penub light up. Anton blows the smoke into the puppet, and it somehow gets the hand stoned.
And it also somehow changes the expression on the puppet.
On the puppet's face, yep. Because reasons.
Oddly enough, with all of the suspension of disbelief required for this movie, that was the one part that, like, bothered me the most.
Yeah, that's the one part where you're like, are you fucking serious? I believed everything up until this point, but puppet face? Come on.
Yeah?
It did look really dumb, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not saying you're wrong.
Okay.
The hand falls off the lever, stopping Molly from being crushed into the pentagram painted onto the ceiling. The hand makes one more attempt at killing Anton. It flies through the air, reaching out for him. Debbie and Randy run in, and Debbie whips the... What is it again? A Chris?
Yep.
Chris at it. It impales the hand and pins it into Mick's chest. The hand begins to shake, red lights emit from it, and then it disappears into a tiny puff of smoke, leaving Mick greatly disappointed.
Greatly disappointed.
And that is actually a joke for people who watched the original ending. That's a special feature on the DVD.
Well, I don't know what that is.
I'll go into it because we're almost done the notes here.
Okay.
Let's see. Greatly disappointed. Yes, Debbie and Randy leave for ritualistic sex. Anton pulls the dagger. The Chris. How do you know that?
Just keep going.
Fine. Out of Mick's chest and cuts Molly free of the bindings. They make out under the raised car. Mick states he never got a hit from the bong and grabs it from Penub, who is knocked back into the lever, dropping the car onto Anton. The shop garage doors open, and the boys decide it's time to make that journey to heaven. Before they leave, they stop to ask if Anton's joining them. Nope, he decides not to go to heaven and stays with Molly. If that's the case, though, wouldn't that mean he's dead?
Yeah, that's an odd one there. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, like, if he was able to go, then would he not be like a Mick and Penub zombie now?
I have no idea.
Currently in traction, Molly's feeding him just as Mick and Penub show up in angel form. Their job is to watch over him and make sure he doesn't return to his evil ways. They decide to go to a vending machine, and Anton asks them to hit the light as they leave. Lights out, and Anton sees a message painted on the ceiling in glow-in-the-dark paint, "I'm under the bed." He screams for his friends who are walking down the hallway and laughing because they were the ones who put it there. Roll credits. Weak fucking ending, man.
I don't feel like it was necessary at all. Like anything from when the car crushes him.
Yeah. I agree. It just seemed too weak compared to the rest of the film. Like, there was always something solid about every scene, even the ones we complain about. But this just seemed horribly tacked on. And it wasn't. It was the entire auto shop like class scene that was redone. Like, they took out the original ending, it did the auto class thing, and then they still kept the hospital scene. Now, the reason why he's in traction originally, the original ending had Molly running into the school's swimming pool, the room with the pool in it.
Okay.
And hiding on the diving board and the hand going after her. Anton gets there and runs up to save her, kills the hand, but a portal to hell has opened. Like, the water turned to blood and then opened up to create a massive pit into hell. And he starts freaking out because he's like, I don't understand, I killed it. And Debbie's like, yeah, but the portal's open and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it's decided that if the devil's going to take a soul, Anton says it's going to be his. And he leans forward off of the diving board, falling towards the portal to hell. But the portal closes and he just smashes into the empty pool floor. Then you get the scene of them going up the stairway to heaven and turning and asking if he's coming with. And then it cuts to the hospital scene where he's in traction.
I don't know which one I like better, but I think from a comedy standpoint, the pool one would have been all right.
It was good, but I love how anticlimactic the death of the hand is in the shop class scene.
Yeah,
but it's only made better knowing that there was a different ending.
And Mick's reaction to it as well. Like,
yeah.
That's it? No fire and brimstone and hellfire or whatever he says?
What'd you think?
I don't know. What did you think?
I was afraid that I was going to really hate the movie. I didn't. I really enjoyed it. I didn't love it as much as I remember loving it, for reasons that we've already explained. But for a horror comedy from the late 90s, I think it's pretty good, man.
Yeah. How did it do?
Not as well as I had expected, but I think relatively well. Do you want to talk money? Do you want to talk reviews? Because money, it did not do well.
Let's get the money out of the way. It's a pretty quick one.
Yeah, the budget, different reports, but it's either 20 or 25 million. It pulled in 4.2 million. Pretty rough. The IMDb, it has it sitting at a score of 6.2 out of 10.
Okay.
Rotten Tomatoes was a surprising one for me. The tomato meter is 15%, and the audience score 58%.
Wow, 15%. Jesus.
Yeah. Now, we look at the director, Rodman Flender. He I know the name from another movie along these lines, and that was Leprechaun 2. So I'm not surprised that it had a similar feeling to it. Other than that, he directed a lot of TV episodes, like well-known shows like The Office, Ugly Betty, Gilmore Girls, The OC. He actually did, I think, 2 episodes of Tales from the Crypt. So, like, he's competent as a director, and I think that shows in this movie. I don't know much about the writers, pair of writers for this one, but I don't think this movie deserves a 15% rating.
Oh, no, not a chance.
I don't know, it's funny. It does have some scares. It's filmed beautifully. I want to say that it has an original story. It doesn't. It has a fleshed out version of that scene from Evil Dead 2, but we've been over that. To you, what really stood out, or what do you feel like might have fallen flat that could have been better? How would you have made this movie better?
I have no idea. I got nothing, man. I really don't.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, let's just move on to awards then.
See, I usually have some good ideas here and there, but nothing was so bad that I felt like this really needs improvement. I think there's little parts here and there that obviously could have been done, but like the movie as a whole, it was a solid premise and it was done well enough.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's weird. We both really enjoyed this movie, but we both sound so sad.
I think I'm saddened by the scores. I like a 15.
It doesn't sound fair
to me, like at all. Like I could see, okay, IMDb, the 6.2 out of 10. Sure, I could see that, right? You get a balance of people who didn't like it and people who did like it, but like 15%, come on.
Do you have a browser open right now? Do you have Rotten Tomatoes? I'm curious to know what the complaints about the movie were.
No, I don't have it open. Right.
Oh, okay. It just, something is wrong.
Well, to be honest, I don't put a lot of weight into Rotten Tomatoes all the time. It's kind of all over the place.
It's true. Plus, it's great when you see a critic whose quote is just, the line is missing. It's like they had a dig at the movie, but it was then deleted, but their name's still attached to like a blank space.
Yeah. Whatever. Whatever. I think we should move on to awards. These scores are depressing.
Yeah, sure.
All right, so
go on to what? Worst performance?
That is where you start. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to say Jack Noseworthy as Randy.
Really? Why is that?
Yeah, he wasn't bad, but of all the secondary characters, like they were so over the top, and he just seemed really subdued. He seemed too real in comparison to some of the other characters. And that character does not fit in this movie. And the lines he has, they do not really... The way he delivered them, it doesn't fit in this movie. The actions that he did, like, it just doesn't fit with the movie. Now, I know it's not all Noseworthy's acting, and that it is some of the characters' writing. But the performance just kind of seemed blah.
I don't know. I think he was given a tall task of playing a character that clearly from the scripting forward just wasn't defined properly, was inconsistent. Like that is a tall task. I didn't actually have a problem with him so much because even in like the inconsistencies, if you watch the scenes in a vacuum, they're all acted pretty fine. It's just when you look at it as a whole that it doesn't make sense. And that again is not as much his acting as it is the just terrible writing for this one character.
Yeah. Like, I don't know Jack Noseworthy from anything else, really. So I can't say that he is a bad actor, and maybe it was just this role, but it's my least favorite.
Yeah, I definitely don't know him from anything else, but again, I'm just looking at it, like, individual scenes were all acted fine. So, yeah. Like, if you see the scene with the CPR, and you don't know the context, and you think, like, this is just a guy who's supposed to be a creeper, you'd be like, yeah, you did a good job of it, right? Because it's so inconsistent, that's not his fault. That's how it was written and how it was directed.
All right. What's yours?
I had Vivica A. Fox as Debbie LeCure.
Interesting.
I thought that in a movie this over the top, her acting was completely overacted. It has so many line deliveries where like she's supposed to be showing an emotion and is just yelling things.
Yeah. Yeah, she does that.
It's I was surprised how poorly it was acted, in my opinion. Like when I first saw her, she comes on camera as the nun. I'm like, all right, she's going to have some, acting chops here because she's going to be able to, play some different roles, do some, different characters if she's, if she carries on with like an investigator or a character, in different situations. Yeah. And from that moment on, it was just awful. The best scene she did was the one where she didn't say anything as the nun.
Wow, that's harsh.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say I almost picked her too, except I felt she wasn't on the screen that much to really judge.
I mean, to be fair, Randy wasn't on that much more.
I think he was.
It's close. It's close.
Because he interacted with more people than she did.
True, but I mean, like, okay, from a point on, obviously they're together, so they're on screen at the same time. Before that, we get Randy, saying hello in the yard. That's not much. At the fast food place, hitting on a girl. That's probably his most substantial scene before they get together.
Yeah, you're right.
But Debbie has to carry an entire scene by herself in the RV. The scene in the police department, like, they're on pretty comparable for screen time.
I guess, yeah.
Or at least it felt that way. I'm actually surprised by this one. I did not think I was going to be saying this at all. Devon Sawa.
He was my original pick, if only for the hand acting.
To be honest, that's it. That's why. At the beginning of the movie, when he was just playing, his bumbly stoner, I'm like, all right, it's nothing terrible. I wouldn't have put him as the worst. I wouldn't have put him as the best. But from the point with the remote control fight, he does such good physical acting. Like I mentioned with the remote, it felt like two separate entities. And you go back to he's shaking his own, like he's nodding his head with his hand and muffling out a no. Right? Like it's all done so well. And when he starts to be like, when he goes to cut his hand off and he's starting to, like, the character is becoming a little bit more unhinged, right? Clearly it's a, traumatic type thing that he's going through. It becomes so, like, well done. I just, like, honestly, going into this movie, I did not think I was going to be picking him. And I was surprised. Maybe it's surprise that carries it. But yeah, I have to give him the nod for best.
Yeah, the hand acting was great. I didn't really like his line delivery that much, but I don't know. I don't think anyone's putting a lot of weight on his line delivery, not even in Final Destination. But yeah, I was going to pick him just for the hand acting as well, because he is much better at the physical acting than line acting. But I did have to go with Seth Green as Mick.
Can't argue that choice at all either, as such a tough pick.
Yeah, like, obviously not a main. Well, he is, I would say, almost close to being a main character. But whenever he was on screen, I was paying attention to what he was doing, and I was either laughing or super curious about what he was doing, or kind of cringing at what he was doing. But I was looking at him when he was on the screen. He had a commanding performance.
I considered Seth Green as well, and I think it is because if he's on the screen, not only do you want to pay attention because he is so captivating, but you have to, because he gives you a lot of physical acting. Not over the top like the hand stuff, but just background scenes, physical, like, motions, facial expressions.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, with fantastic comedic delivery lines, he does everything great. But I would almost say, like, when I went for the pick here, it was like 1A, 1B. Like, I don't even know if I could say 1 and 2. All right, so you picked your favorite or most memorable line.
Going again with Seth Green as Mick in the scene from Pub's basement. Anton, all you do is smoke pot and watch TV all day. Now, don't get me wrong, that's what life's all about. But don't you think you should have some ambition, like a goal? It just sums up the character immediately. Like, that is all the exposition you need to know where we are with Anton Tobias.
So it's not so much like the line for, you know, a comedic purpose or for just how on the nose it is.
It's a funny line that, describes everything you need in what? 2 sentences?
Yeah. That's pretty good.
It's super concise, very well written, and very well delivered.
I can't argue that.
Curious about your choice.
So I went with Penup, and it's very strongly because of my memory of watching the movie. I saw it, I don't know, probably 20 years ago. And when I was getting ready to rewatch it, I still had this line in my mind. And even when I was done the movie, I still loved it. And it was when Penup said, "Those things won't even cut my bagels."
Yeah.
And it's more of a comedic thing. I think it might be coupled with the fact that right after that, he pushes down on it and it just bends. Right? But
yeah,
there's just something about that line from even when I saw it as a kid. That's the line that I always remembered with that movie.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good one.
All right. So favorite moment / scene or most memorable?
The ending. It's just a mix of everything. Like Jessica Alba, the car dropping onto Anton. One of my favorite lines is actually Seth Green saying "Sweet Jesus" when the car drops and crushes him. That was always stuck out in my mind. So it's more of like an elongated part of the film, like the actual ending of the movie before the hospital scene has always been in my memory. Whenever I think of this movie, I think severed hand that kills people, and then the auto shop scene.
Fair.
I have no idea what your most memorable scene would be.
Same one.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Same reasons?
No.
Okay.
But I'm going to refrain from sharing.
Oh, I get you.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway.
I went ahead and did a memorable kill for this as well. Just by chance, thinking you might do the same. Because there are some pretty inventive kills here.
Okay.
And mine would... I don't think anybody else would really pick this one, but I really love the knitting needle through the ear.
Bullshit. Nobody else would pick that. That's what I have written down.
Really?
Yeah. When you told...
I think it's so good.
When you told me before we started recording that you had one picked, and I had to just kind of like quickly, scribble one down for my notes, that's exactly what I wrote. Knitting needle through the ear.
It was the most memorable.
For me, it was. And the thing
here.
is, it wasn't the most over the top
No.
from a visual standpoint. Like there was some very extravagant stuff. Like you go back to even like Norma, like there's just a big blood splatter from under the bed. Dexter Holland just gets his, I don't know if he dies from it. It's whatever, but like he gets his, pardon?
I would assume so.
Yeah, but he just gets like the whole top of his head ripped off, right? Like, I don't know, whatever. This one is a little bit more subdued in comparison, but it is just really good.
Yeah, well, it's like even the lead up to it, because like it's Anton knitting while I think Rob Zombie's Dracula is playing in the background, and he's just like, cuff me. And like, put down the knitting needle. It's like, cuff me. And then he can't control the hand anymore, and it just rips free from whatever he was knitting and is holding that needle. And they film it perfectly. You just see the clutched fist holding the needle, and it just swings, and he drives it through the cop's head.
Well, there's even just a split second before when the needle comes out from where it's knitting.
Yeah.
And like Devon Sawa looks at it like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like even he's just like, this isn't going to be good. So yeah, I had that one.
Cool, man.
All right. So those are our awards. I don't think it'll be too much of a secret, but what is your final recommendation?
Definitely watch it. It is not for everybody, but it's got so many little bits and pieces that I think it will have something for everybody, just maybe not as an ensemble. Give it a shot. You might like it, you might not, but it's definitely worth watching. It's not going to feel like you wasted your time. I recommend it. I think it's great. It stood the test of time for me. It's still pretty funny. It's got some decent scares, filmed well, it's acted well. Yeah, I definitely recommend this movie.
I also would recommend this movie. This is like the exact opposite of going back and watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Well, with that one, went back and watched it, and in my mind, I'm like, how did I like this? And going back and watching this one, I was like, how did I not like this more? Like, it is just a good, fun time. Yeah, it's, suspension of disbelief. There's got to be, with this type of movie, a level of it. But it's so rare to find a comedy horror that doesn't lean into one or the other and fail at the other one. It does both quite well. You absolutely have to watch this. Fantastic cast, good comedy. I know it's definitely a rip-off of the scene from Evil Dead 2.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, it's pretty unique in that there aren't too many other movies that do this. Like you look at a lot of slasher movies, for example, they're very similar. Aside from the similarities to one scene in Evil Dead, I can't think of any other full movie that's like this. So it's got a uniqueness to it. I absolutely do recommend this movie.
Perfect. That's great.
All right. So that was our thoughts. If you guys have any thoughts to share on Idle Hands, hit us up on social media. We are on Twitter at BS Bargain Bin. You can find a nice comment section on YouTube where you can leave as detailed of a note as you want, or Facebook, or even if you want to email us, which I haven't mentioned in a long time. Don't even know why I really do, because nobody emails anymore. But it's bsbargainbin@outlook.com. That just leaves one last question, I guess. We didn't have a fan pick for July. Unfortunately, we got 0 entries again, which I don't know why you're laughing at that. Which means that it is my pick for what we do for the July fan pick. I could not make a decision. So what I did this time was I gave a list of 5 movies to Ben, and he's going to tell me now which of those 5 we're reviewing next week.
Yeah, I was actually surprised at your list. I would be down to cover all of them, but for next week, I have selected 1985's The Black Cauldron.
Legend has it, there was once a king so cruel and so evil that the gods feared him. Since no prison could hold him, he was trapped forever in the form of a great black cauldron.
The Horned King, that black-hearted devil.
Walt Disney Pictures presents The Black Cauldron. Escape into a world of darkness.
Are you coming?
Me? Go in there? Oh, no. It's a terrible place.
A world of excitement. A world of dreams.
Aaron, the greatest warrior of true hero.
And through the magic of 70mm photography and 6-track Dolby sound, you will be transported to a fantasy event for the entire family.
Look, sire, it's working.
Soon the Black Cauldron will be mine.
In the great tradition of Disney animated classics, now comes the newest Disney spectacle of them all, The Black Cauldron.
All right, so that'll be a first for us, an animated movie. Check it out, and until next week, have a great one.
All the best, guys.